I started in the 1980s, probably one of the worst real estate markets. Nobody was selling anything. Aren't you frustrated when you call your bank and they're like, press this number and do this? You just want to speak to a real person and explain to them what you want. And,
Yeah, don't get me started. They never get my accent. And I'm like, speak to an agent, speak to an agent.
I just figure, okay, it's going to take me 200 open houses. I'll sit in this house 200 times and hold it open until I get a customer.
Welcome back to another episode of My First Commission. My name's Liam and I'm sat here with one of Miami's best real estate professionals. I'm here with Patricia Delinois from Premier Elite Realty. Patricia, thank you for sitting down with us today. I'm super excited for our audience to hear your story. So Patricia, let's start at the start. Why did you get into real estate?
I was 18 years old and about to get married. My whole life was changing. And I remember my grandfather used to buy these old motels and he would tear them apart and completely redo them and turn them into these magnificent masterpieces that everyone from all over would want to come and visit. And I thought, that is so cool. I want to do real estate like that, real estate that you can transform, a form of art into a property that will last forever until the next person comes to transform it. So my grandfather inspired me.
So 18 years old, about to get married, you got the inspiration of your grandfather, but what, did you go into like motels or did you go into like residential, commercial? How did you actually go?
Both. But I really did focus on residential real estate.
And was that an intentional play? Did your granddad like scare you off and go, don't go into motels, it's hard work?
No. It's just I love homes. I love meeting people. I love networking. I just love the whole social aspect of it. And I really believe I've never sold someone a home. I've helped them improve their life.
Yeah. Oh, so 18 years old, right, straight out of high school, you start doing real estate. How did you get your first customer, like your first client? Tell us about that first deal.
I started in the 1980s, probably one of the worst real estate markets. Interest rates were 13, 14%. Nobody was selling anything, but I was so new and I had no clue. So I just figured, okay, it's going to take me 200 open houses. I'll sit in this house 200 times and hold it open until I get a customer, which I finally did. And I was so excited. I was jumping up and down. And I remember the sellers were happy and the buyer was happy. And I went to the office to drop off the paperwork and I got a call from the attorney. And he said to me, "You don't have a deal." And I'm like, "Yes, I have a deal. The owners are happy. The buyers love the house. And, everything worked out. Everybody's agreed on everything." And he said to me, "No, you don't have a deal." And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Because you forgot to put the folio number in the contract. So you have no deal." And I just felt my heart drop and I thought, oh shit, these people are gonna kill me. These buyers love this house so much. How am I gonna explain that I totally screwed up this deal for being ignorant and it being my first deal? And I felt so bad. And he let the phone call sit silent for, seemed like forever.
Eternity.
Yes. And then he said to me, "But I'm going to let this slide and I'll put in the folio number for you. But just remember next time, don't leave out the folio number." And I'm like, oh boy, I've never forgot that lesson. So you have no deal if you don't have the correct legal description in the contract and a folio number. So always remember
You've never made that mistake again.
Never.
At least you learned it super early in your career.
Yeah.
Right? You stamped that out straight away. So you said 200 open houses.
1980s.
Did
rough.
you do 200?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
If you do one a day, that's what? I'm not going to do public maths because 200 is about, what, 2/3 of a year? That's 9 months?
It was rough, but I didn't know better. And it just goes to show you, you don't know it's bad if you don't know it's bad.
Maybe like blissful ignorance, right? Because you don't know
Correct.
any better. Yeah.
Correct.
And if someone's watching this right now, they're in 2025, right? They're looking at it, interest rates are like 6%. Everyone's praying, saying like, can we get it down into the fives? in the 80s, you said it was like 14, 15%.
Right.
And I think that's like a reality check for anyone that's thinking about getting into the industry. It's like, well, it has been a lot worse than 6%. I think the COVID bubble and people having those 2%, 3% mortgages kind of spoiled us a little bit, didn't they?
I think anybody watching this today, my advice from my experience from being in the business since the 1980s is 2025. We don't have much more to go this year, but this will probably be the best deal in a long time. If you buy a property in 2025, prices are still pretty good, interest rates are low. This is the time to buy. But we're about to get some crazy business, especially in South Florida, the next, upcoming years. So
Tell me more. Tell me more.
well, don't wait 5 years from now and say, darn it, I should have bought a property in 2025, because I'm telling you now, buy in 2025. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was Barbara Cochran said the best time to buy real estate was 30 years ago. The second best time is now. So
Correct.
It's always
Correct.
it's always changing. It's always getting.
But I really mean it's now.
Yeah, yeah. So you do the 200 open houses, and you sit there, and people come and go. You get your first client. How tough was it to sit there and watch all these people come in and not be able to help them buy or sell a home?
It was rough. It really was. I didn't understand. What do you mean you don't want to buy this house? This house is amazing. It's a good deal. But yes, it's hard to understand how long it actually took to sell a property. It took about a year. It took sometimes 2 years. It was a really rough real estate market. I didn't give up, and that's advice I would give to new agents now. Is usually when you feel it's the worst, usually when you feel it's rock bottom, that means you have to keep going. So if you can imagine your house just burnt down to the ground, ashes, and you're sitting there in front of the house and you're bawling your eyes out and you're crying and your life is over. At that moment, you have two choices. You can completely give up and your life is over, or you can pick yourself back up, dust yourself off, and say, okay, I'm ready, here I go. And that's what life is, and that's what real estate is really like, is you have to be able to handle rejection. You have to realize that you're not going to make a sale on the first call. You have to realize you might not even get, yes, you can come over, until 12 phone calls.
Yeah.
So you have to have that ability to just keep picking yourself up and keep going.
So you said that you started in the 80s and it was one of the worst markets to be in. Looking back on it now, do you think that was like a benefit to your career because you started off in such a tough market that you had to learn a load of different skills a lot quicker than if you went into like a bull market where it's really easy to buy a home, sell a home, etc.?
Of course. I've been on this roller coaster in the past 30 years where I've seen the market go up, I've seen it go down, I've seen it go back up. And that's real estate. It's cycles, but it's still the best investment you can ever make. Everyone will tell you that is real estate. So, but having started in the worst market, when people would complain and we'd have a down market, I'd say, it'll pass.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
shall pass. And it
Weathered
does.
the storm. So you started out, right, 18 years old, super young, right, going into a tough industry. How did you pick the brokerage that you ended up working with? Because every agent I talk to is like, this one's for me, I didn't like this. How did you make that decision?
I went to interview with a few different brokerages, and at the time I started with a company called Stadler Associates. They're no longer around, but they were the cream of the crop back then, and very, very talented real estate associates. It was a boutique agency, maybe a few hundred agents. They had 3 offices focused on South Florida. And what happened was I was very happy there, and the agents were very happy, but it was a family-owned business. For whatever, they had personal reasons, they ended up closing down their doors overnight. And the agents the next day we're like, where do we go? There was Prudential, EWM, quite a few options, but nothing like what we were used to. And the agents just weren't happy, and they said, there's got to be something better than this. So we were all very, very depressed. And then they came up to me and said, Patricia, you can do this. You have the setup, you have a property that would be perfect for a first office. You be the broker, you open the company. Like, no, I don't want to be a broker. That's the last thing I ever want to do. Until I finally realized that, yes, I wasn't happy with the other options either, and maybe this is what I'm supposed to do.
Wow.
So we all got together and we sat around a round table, the Stadler agents, and took a piece of paper and passed it around and said, okay, what's your wish list? Oh, we hate these fees and we hate that. And, this is crazy, the referral fees and parking situation. Basically made up the dream list of the dream company. And that's what we go by now today as our, rules for the office and the company, is how to be that dream real estate company for every agent. Of course, there's never a perfect real estate company, but because we are small and because we are like a family, we do communicate. And if somebody's got a new idea and says, well, we don't want 10 a.m. meetings, we want to go to the gym first and blah, 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 let's change them to noon. We're like, okay, noon it is. We shall now have our company meetings at noon.
So your brokerage came out of the one you're working at closing down. So you had no intentions of going into it.
Never.
That's crazy. How old were you? How long have you been in your career? Right.
Since 1984.
No, until when you started your brokerage. Was it quite quickly after it? Was it
a few years after?
A few years.
Yeah.
I'd say that might be quite daunting, right? It's like everyone's like, "What are you doing?" Like, oh, I've only been in the industry 2 years. So it kind of happened by chance.
Right.
How did you find transitioning from being a sales associate to broker in charge?
Wasn't easy, and at the time, back then in the 1980s, most of the real estate companies were owned by men. So, they, from the franchises, I started out as a Coldwell Banker franchise, would get special preference over, and they're going to hate me for saying this, over the female. But it was that way. The men did get, special favors. And so it was hard, it wasn't easy. But again, I never gave up.
Yeah. So you start your brokerage. It's the dream one, right? It's everyone's wish list. Looking back at that initial document, right, with all the ideas, how many of the ones that were on the paper didn't make the cut?
It's been an evolving list, yes.
What's your favorite? What's your favorite things that you weren't thinking of, and then someone put it down?
I would always say to someone, believe it or not, if you want to know what my answer would be, sometimes you're in the middle of a deal and you have to make a decision, and you may not be able to call, somebody, your manager, to then call their manager for an answer, is go by common sense. That's really our basic rule, is common sense. Whatever you think that common sense answer is, that most likely will be my answer.
Sounds very simple.
That's simple.
Yeah. May not get executed on. So you've been broker in charge now. You've seen the industry change, right? You talk about cycles, right?
Right.
Looking at where we are today in 2025, going into 2026, if someone is watching this and they're thinking about getting their real estate license and joining this industry, what advice would you have for them?
Find a mentor, somebody that can help you get started. I didn't have that when I first started, and that's why, I made all those mistakes. Is back then we didn't have YouTube. We didn't have the internet per se as, we have now. The first printers we finally got were those crank printers. In fact, we had a thick book that would come out every 2 weeks and get passed around. And by the end of the 2 weeks, it was outdated. So there was no MLS. There was, no computers. We had a microfiche that you had to kind of look at the data and then go to the courthouse for the tax records. It was very different than real estate is today. So take advantage of all these YouTube, videos of coaches, trying to teach you and give you real estate tips, and the classes. There's so many great educational classes out there, and books and online that you can find, and real estate podcasts, so much information out there that I wish I had back then, but I didn't. So they're coming into a whole new world of real estate with so much to offer. I'm jealous.
What are you jealous about specifically?
The information, the podcast, so much that you can learn from. If you don't have a personal mentor, find a mentor online, find a coach that you love and follow them on YouTube. What great opportunities, schools like Gold Coast, that are around that offer so much extra education and video classes, and we didn't have that back then.
No.
So that's why when someone comes to me and asks me to be their mentor, I love that. It's a win-win for me. Makes me feel good that I can help them and see them succeed.
Yeah, and you talk about your brokerage being a boutique brokerage, right? If someone's watching this and they don't know the difference between like a franchise, the big box brands, or a boutique, what does a boutique offer that's very different to kind of the big players in the industry?
A boutique is much more personalized. And for example, if you're working on a deal and you do have to do something a little out of the box, out of the ordinary, if you were with one of those big franchises, you make that phone call to the manager who makes the phone call to the next manager who always has the cookie cutter answer of the corporate rules, where when you're in a boutique brokerage, you get the answer immediately. You get the response immediately, and there's always a gray area, so we understand, yes, we have to do this to make it work, and we can bend the rules here to make this work. And so, you work with each deal and kind of massage it and make it happen. And sometimes the big corporate rules don't allow for that.
Yeah. We've talked to a load of different brokers, right, all across the country, all different sizes. And the one thing that really stands out for me when I talk to owners of boutique is that because they're a lot smaller, everyone knows every agent, right? And there's like you talk about, there's less middlemen in between, right? You can get the answers a lot quicker.
More of a family atmosphere.
Yeah, and then you say people go to you directly, right? The top of the
24/7, I'm available.
Yeah, so
shouldn't say that either. But
yeah, I know. I'd say if you work with Patricia, there's not literally 24/7.
But I do answer all my texts.
Yeah, so if a young agent is watching this, right, you say that it makes you feel good, right? How should they approach their broker or the person they want to be mentored? Kind of what resonates with you when someone asks?
No, if somebody asks me for help, I feel honored. I want to help them. And it's also not just about making the deals, because I do believe that I teach our agents, you have to be involved in your community. You have to know what's going on in your community, and you have to give back. We're very big that getting involved in causes, whether it's Make-A-Wish or Easter Seals or, help the fight against cancer. In the past 5 years, I'm a big activist of the fight against, human trafficking, which is a huge global problem around the world. And at your funeral, are they really going to remember the biggest deal you did? But I believe they really will remember the impact and the change that you did to change people's lives and make this world a better place.
So your agents are really big in the community. Does that also help them in their professional career as well, not just giving back?
Of course, because I think people want to work with the agency and the agents that do care about them and do care about the neighborhoods. In fact, we were voted a couple times Miami's favorite luxury real estate company and voted Miami's favorite broker. And again, it's not because we were the biggest company or made the most money, but I think it was because we made the most impact of the lives of the people in the communities we serve.
Yeah, and so when did your transition go from kind of the residential into like the luxury, and how did that change with your career?
We actually still do all price ranges. We'll help the person who's selling their $100,000 first condo, and we have the $105 million listings in Star Island. So we have all the different ranges, and we do commercial also. I think that we are an international real estate company, and because I lived internationally in different places, and I lived in Panama as a teenager, and I speak, French and Spanish. we have a huge international clientele. And what I've noticed when you work with the international clients, they want to work with one point of contact. So you may be sharing that listing with somebody else who specializes in commercial or somebody else who does industrial warehouses, but they really only want to deal with that one point of contact. So we understand that with our agents. Some companies say, no, you can only do residential, or no, you can only do commercial. We realize that those clients want to deal only with them and have confidence in them that they'll get the help they need to get the results they want.
Yeah, and do you find it hard for agents to switch between residential and commercial and luxury?
Not really. In the end, you're helping your client get the results they want, and commercial is actually so much easier than
Oh, really?
residential. Well, it's not as emotional. In residential, you have people that fall in love with a particular some furniture that was in the house that they end up fighting over. In commercial, it's just numbers.
It's just a spreadsheet. It's
Yes,
just what's the
yes,
price per square foot?
exactly. Residential is much more emotional.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that. We were in Arizona a couple of months ago, and we were talking to this one guy who ended up setting up his own brokerage because he started out in commercial, and then all his friends wanted him to help in residential. And the brokerage that he was at was like, no, you can't do both. You're either on the commercial team or you're on the residential team. So seeing that you guys do all of them is really interesting from kind of what we've seen. So Patricia, you're in the Miami market.
Yes.
Right. You were telling me before we started filming that you send a lot of people to Gold Coast schools, one of the the largest local school here in Florida. Why do you do that? What's so special about that school in particular?
Gold Coast makes it simple and easy. I still use Gold Coast when I have to renew my 14 hours every 2 years. They just make it easy. You send your 20 something dollars and you either get a book or you can do the test online. And I just love the way they're so organized and make your life easier. Isn't that what everybody wants, is easy nowadays? Everyone's so busy. So Gold Coast makes it easy, simple, and fast.
Yeah, and so this will be shared with like the Gold Coast.
So I do recommend Gold Coast all the time.
Yeah, fantastic. So the Gold Coast students are going to see this, right? And they're potentially going to see someone like you in the industry doing really well, right? Yeah, you've sold me on the brokerage. So if I go get my license, I know where I'm going to hang it with. But you talk about mentoring, right? What skill set do you look for in a new agent when they're coming to interview you guys and maybe join the team?
Believe it or not, it's not always the amount of knowledge they have or the degree that they have. It's really as simple as being a caring people person, because people will work with you if they really feel that you authentically, truly care about them and want the best for them and are doing your best for them. It's really as simple as that. I've seen clients pass over the top agent to work with somebody that they really connected with and felt would really care about their deal and give their best effort to make that transaction happen for them, regardless how many years of experience they had.
Yeah, so there you go. Right, if you're watching this, that's a pretty easy one to
Yes,
do, right?
be a good people person.
Yeah, be a good people person. That's really interesting that you say that, right? Everything online is all about how to use AI in your real estate practice, right? How it can be more efficient. Everyone's on social media, but you're not the first broker that's told me people skills, people skills. How important is the human agent, the sales associate in the real estate transaction still in 2025 and beyond?
Right. People have said to me, "Oh, well, AI is going to take over your career." And yes, AI is going to be very important, because can you imagine how cool if I was sitting here now with you and I was using virtual reality and augmented reality and I said, "Here I have this gorgeous 6-bedroom mansion. Look at it." And you'd be floating around augmented reality on 3 acres. And here I have this gorgeous townhouse right in the center of the city, but you could see all the levels and the square footage, and the information would pop out. And that would be so cool.
Yeah.
I would love that. But yes, the technology will be wonderful, which AI and the technology now is great for our marketing. And the internet has changed our business because it's changed it from local to global. Because when I first started real estate, I basically had to work, with that big book in my immediate neighborhood. Now with the internet is I can reach people globally. I'm very big on the internet and all sorts of platforms of social media for our marketing. So I have over 2 million contacts on all the different platforms, meaning LinkedIn and Pinterest and Facebook and Instagram. And, I'm sure I'm missing some, but so many different platforms that we work from right now. On Instagram, I don't just have one Instagram account, I have several Instagram accounts that feed off each other. And that is huge with marketing. That's how we reach people because everyone's on their phones. I mean, I'm sure we're on a break. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to walk over your phone and look at your
Don't look at my screen
phone.
time. Don't look at my screen time. It'd be embarrassing.
So if you want to do marketing, you have to be on that phone. You have to be where that client is going to see that information. So that's very, very important.
Yeah, no, it is. It is I think I see the memes on like the real estate page, and it's like, I got into real estate to sell homes, not be a content creator. And it's like, well, you kind of have to, right?
But in the end, back to your question is people still want you. They still want that person. They still want that human connection. I mean, aren't you frustrated when you call your bank and they're like, press this number and do this? You just want to speak to a real person and explain to them what you want. And
Yeah, don't get me started. They never get my accent. I'm like, speak to an agent. It's like, we can't.
Like, please, it takes me like 20 minutes to get to a real person to explain to them what I can't on the chat or the virtual bot. It just doesn't get it right. So yes, people want a real person.
And I think what I'm taking away from this and doing my research, right, and looking at your social media, is that the social media is just an amplification of you.
Correct.
Right? It's still you.
To reach the network
but now,
globally, the exposure.
Yeah, now instead of just being landlocked in Brickell, right, you can do the whole southeast, right? People can then trust you. They can then start to get to know you, see your listings.
Pick up my client in Dubai or in Argentina or in China.
Yeah, so Patricia, if it all ended tomorrow, right, and you had to restart your real estate career from scratch, right, you just get your license again, knowing what you know with kind of your years of experience, right, all the deals that you've done, how would you go about getting your first client as a new agent in 2026?
Well, I'm started with open houses, so I'm still a big believer of open houses. I think open houses work, but you can be successful in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years, and just as effective than the agent who's been around for 35 years. I'm not saying you're not going to have as much experience, but because of the internet and because of marketing and because of social media, if you really did it right and blasted yourself out there and just, constantly pumped those, properties on social media and internet marketing, you are going to get a response. So because of the internet and because of AI and because of the tools out there and the different kinds of marketing you can do, it does help your career speed it up from the years of experience. You'll never have as much knowledge as obviously those agents that have been in business so long, and but as long as you have a good mentor, you'll be okay.
That's what I was going to say. It sounds like that the internet is the great leveler, right? But you said you would start with open houses again.
Because I still believe that face-to-face connection is everything. And if you're at an open house, anybody that walks into that open house either is planning on buying home. It could be in 6 months, it could be in 2 years, it could be 3 years. That's somebody who should be in your contact list. Or planning on selling their home, so they're comparing what's happening. Or maybe they're just curious but have to rent it. Everybody needs to live somewhere. Yeah. So any human connection that's walking into that open house, to me, is a lead.
Yeah. And in the downtime, right, you can take all the social media content, start posting it there. So it can be like a double dip of your time.
Right.
So Patricia, this has been really interesting. What's something that I haven't asked you that I should, right? Knowing that the audience are people that are thinking about getting into real estate, they're a new agent. What am I missing? What am I being stupid for not asking you while we're here?
Well, I'm a big believer of persistence wears down resistance. And too many new agents give up just before they're really going to make it. So, keep persisting. Don't give up. Just keep doing whatever it is you're doing. And if it's not working, do it harder, do it stronger, do it more.
So if I was an agent, right, I'm new in my career, you're my mentor, right, and I come in and I'm like, Patricia, I'm like, I'm gonna give up. Right, I've done 200 open houses, I've not got a client yet. What kind of practical things would you say to me to help me kind of get through that hump?
I would say that maybe you need a little time on a reset. Sometimes it's really all about mindset and where you're at. Because if you're in the mindset of it's not going to work, I'm going to fail, I'm never going to get a listing from that phone call, or cold calls never work. It's not going to work. So you need to work on you first and your mindset, and reframe what you're thinking, and really put it in that positive mindset, a winner's mindset, that yes, okay, I'm going to get a listing out of these phone calls. It may not be the first call, it may not be the second call, it may not be the third call, it might be the 40th call, but you're going to get that listing.
Yeah, no, Patricia, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for sitting down with us. If someone's watching this and they want to get connected with you, what's the best account to follow you on? Because you said you've got several. What's the main one? How do they get in touch?
I try to make it really easy. My name, Patricia Delinois. So reach out to me on Instagram. Reach out to my email is patriciadelinois@gmail.com. And my cell is 786-252-6288. And yes, my cell is public.
Yeah, I was about to say, now that you've said it, it lives on the internet forever.
It's there already.
Yeah,
Yes.
so
I'm easy to reach.
We'll drop everything in the show notes, right? It'll be on the screen here as we're talking, Patricia. So there we go, guys. That's the pod. Patricia, thank you very much. Really appreciate you taking the time out today to chat with us. So guys, I think Patricia is an amazing person to look out for in the real estate industry. You could learn a lot from her social media. And if you do want to start your career in real estate, please tap the link below to get started.